Having a Cutman can be the difference between winning and losing the fight. You know, just having the Cutman available can give you more time in the fight, give you that one more round that you need.
As that 10-second bell rings, I'm doing my last check. Do I have everything that I need for what I'm going to be going in there for? Is the guy got swelling? Is he cut? Is his nose bleeding? Where's his cut? Is it above the eye? Is it under the eye? Does he have multiple cuts? So those last, I'm thinking about that before the bell goes, and I'm double, triple checking. I make sure I got everything. As I walk up to the stairs, when I hear that clap for 10 seconds, I get myself positioned at the stairs, so as soon as that door opens, I can go get in the cage and go right to the fighter. All I'm thinking about is, how am I going to approach this guy? Am I going to approach him from the left? Am I going to approach him from the right? What is the first thing I'm going to do? What is the first thing that I'm concentrating on? Is he laying on the ground? Am I going to have to help him up? Is he walking to the opposite corner? Is he upset and throwing his arms around? All those kinds of things are entering my mind. So as the door opens up, as I'm going up the stairs, that's what I'm thinking about.
I think we've all cornered guys before, and we all end up going there with swabs and everything, and gloves, and but realistically, we don't know what we're doing. We're just putting pressure on it. I think to have a guy who actually knows what he's doing, is trained in it, it just adds that extra bit of confidence.
I was a big boxing fan, but never really got involved in it. And then kind of discovered mixed martial arts a lot later than most people did. A lot of people talk about how they fell in love with it in UFC 1. I didn't like it because I was a boxing guy, and I didn't like the no weight classes and stuff like that. To me, I didn't like it. So I didn't really start following MMA till probably about The Ultimate Fighter, the first season. Never watched the show, but watched the finale with my roommates. And that's when I was kind of like, wow, this is cool, I like this. Ended up watching it more and more, decided to start training MMA. I started at Clinch MMA. I was actually one of Sal's first students when we was just in the back of World Gym in Burnaby there. Trained there for a couple years on and off. And then just with work and stuff like that, took some time off. And then I decided I wanted to, it was a little bit too much for the amount of time that I could put into it. Too many things to learn. So went back to my roots and wanted to start just boxing more. So that's when I started coming to Powercore. And then in doing that, I also still like to roll around and stuff like that. So I started training at TriStar Vancouver when it opened up, and I sporadically go there as well. I don't know what drew me to it when I was a kid. Like I said, I was a big boxing fan when I was a kid, and in that era, some of the all-time greats were still working then, as far as Cutmen go. And for some reason, I was always drawn to it, drawn to the corners, like in between rounds. I really just caught my eye when the coaches are coaching them, and there's these guys who are working on the cuts and stuff like that since I was little. I was just kind of was interested in it, and then kind of when I first started training MMA, kind of thought maybe I would fight, and realized that the dedication it takes to do that, and realized I couldn't put in that type, but wanted to be involved. So I just kind of thought, well, I want to be involved somehow. I've always been interested in being a cornerman / cutman, and that's kind of where my journey started.
I actually like having a Cutman work on the students in between rounds. Gives me a chance to actually focus more on the fighter. So when I have a Cutman in there, he's able to do the duties, responsibilities, look after the cuts, any swellings, and it often gives the fighter, if they are cut or if they're injured, if they have any type of swelling, it can give them one more round in the fight.
As a professional with a lot more elbows and knees to the head and stuff, it's very comforting knowing that, say if you do get split open, you'll have somebody that can actually tend to you, that knows what they're doing, and could potentially help you from getting the fight stopped, right? Because there's lots of instances you've seen, you know, guys get cut open and maybe they didn't tend to it properly and gets opened up a little bit more and then fight stop, right? So that would be kind of, you know, one of the worst things to happen if you just got cut with a little elbow, a little graze, but you're beating the crap out of the guy and all of a sudden they stop the fight. You know, that could be one of the worst things to happen, right?
Huge relief in the ring if you get cut. Like, you want to keep fighting, you need somebody to put you back together. It's definitely, you know, makes you feel good having a professional in there.
It feels better. It takes a bit of the stress off. You know, whenever you have a bad cut, the first thing that goes through your head as a fighter is like, oh man, like how bad does it look? Is this gonna get stopped? Am I about to lose? And it's good having a guy work on it, knowing that you can get sealed back up and get back in there in the cage.
It can be pretty electrifying at times. When I'm sitting cage side, I'm working. So I've got to be dialed in. I can't be concerned with all the hoopla and all the stuff that's going on. I can't be excited and getting all antsy and cheering for the fighters and thinking he should be doing this and this. No, I've got to be centered on if I'm working with other cutmen, so I'm only got one guy, or sometimes, like in the BFL, I'm working both sides. So I've got to be focused on that. Is my guy taking damage? What kind of positions is he in? Does it look like he's gonna need my help, sort of thing? And then I'm also talking with the coaches.
Use your overhand. His left hand is too low. His left hand is too low. Go over top. And remember, keep the clip underneath his knee. Okay? Okay. You can't catch that. Come over top. Have faith in your striking. Have faith in your wrestling.
Wipe down your fighter. Use your towel. Wipe down your fighter. Grab the stool. Let's go.
A couple fights ago, he came in after the first round, and I think it's just that extra level of comfort, right? You know, in the corner, it's chaotic. You got your coaches coming in. You know, you're focused. Get your heart rate down and just focus. And if you've got the mindset that you've got to cut and you got to finish this guy in the next round, I think it just plays on you. And if you got a cut man in there and he's working on you, you have a little bit more confidence and you can just focus, you know, on your task.
But there's times, big fights, it can be pretty wild at times.
Having somebody who's actually been in the ring and knows how stressful it is inside there, it's definitely a relief having somebody that can handle a situation professionally and not get you know, like flustered in between rounds.
I wouldn't say it's a necessity, but it's pretty imperative that you be involved in martial arts if you're going to do this job. It's, to me, it's so important. If you don't know, if you've never been in a gym where one of your teammates is going through a fight camp, if you don't see how hard these guys train and what these guys do on a daily basis, you can't appreciate it. You can't understand what they're going through. You have to know these kinds of things. You have to know how to act around them. You have to know what this means to them. And I don't think you can just get that if you don't train yourself. And if it's not so much training yourself to be a good fighter or whatever, that's not really what it's about. It's being in the atmosphere. It's about being in the gym. It's about wrapping guys' hands when there's no incentive to. It's about it's just about the knowledge and of what these guys do on a daily basis, you know? And I just think that you're missing a crucial part if you don't train yourself, or if you're not, if not training, if you're not in gyms all the time.
Cutmans are often overlooked in the sport. Having Rod around, the local guys, they actually have a good relationship with the guy. They feel really good to have a professional like Rodzilla around in the corner for a couple reasons. One is his hand wraps. He does such a great job in wrapping the hands. And two, him being in the corner and just having someone that knows how to look after the cuts, after the swelling and stuff, I feel like it gives a lot of the athletes like a peace of mind to have him there.
So anytime you've got someone who's has a higher level of understanding in your sport, they understand what you're going through, and they understand that, look, you put in that much time, you don't want this fight stopped. Like, he's going to do everything he can to keep you in it. I think that's just fantastic.
You see him around, obviously taping anybody's hands, being a part of the MMA community, right? So it's nice to know that he actually cares a lot about it, right? He's not just a doctor on site trying to help out, right? He's really invested in the sport, so that's always comforting, and that's always something nice to have around.
You know, he's a guy who's been in there. He knows the difference between a cut that looks bad and a cut that is bad. It's nice to know it's not just some dude who's never been in a fight, never been cut, and he's just gonna, you know, oh, this could be dangerous, we're just gonna stop it. You know, Rod kind of has a little bit of that experience. He can tell whether it's safe to let you continue or not, actually.
I think that's one of the important things of being a cutman or even being an official, is having some type of background or understanding of the sporting itself before you can become a professional in that sport.
Yeah, the worst one that I had that the doctor didn't stop the fight would have been Jamie Siraj. His nose just couldn't stop it. It was all kinds of busted up. It was just flowing. He had a huge gash on the side. He was just bloody everywhere. It was just a slobber knocker of a fight. And that one was like, you wish you had more hands. You know, you've got swabs in both nose, one on the side. You're trying to clean them up. You're trying to Vaseline them all at the same time. That was a fun one.
Come on! Good work, Mark. Good work.
I'm all right, eh? Yeah, you're fine.
How do I look? I'm good. He's right. My teeth are fine. You still have your guard in? Yeah, yes.
You can pop that out now. Bite down. Tell me if your teeth still feel like they normally do when you bite down.
Yeah, they feel fine. Close your eyes.
So you got a little cut under your eye that I'm going to have to fix up for you in the back room.
Oh, cool. More stitches.
Hold my finger. How many? Forward. Any pain back here?
Yeah, you're fine.
Hey, Yannick.
But you know, from my little bit of experience, it was great. I did have him wrap one of my teammates' hands because I was there coaching him, and I felt just a little bit more confident that he was there to wrap it, and he did a fantastic job.
Cutmen in general, I think, are good, and they've been a big part of fight history. I think there's a lot of huge, great classic wars that we never would have gotten to see without Cutman, because the fights could have been stopped. People don't like looking at blood. They don't get stitched up. They send the guy back home, and we could have missed out on a lot of great fights. So I'm thankful that they're there and they're looking out for us.
One thing that I would really like to stress out there is that and it is actually happening more and more, it's great to see, but more and more Canadian promotions utilizing hiring cutmen. So many of these promotions are more than willing to pay 5 ring card girls, but say, oh, sorry, we don't have any money for a cutman, so we can't. Well, the cutman is what keeps your fighters in the fight. You know, he's the guy who's going to be wrapping your hands. Not all coaches wrap hands. You know, not all guys are good at wrapping hands. That's what we do. That's what we're good at. That's what we practice day in and day out. If you're not offering that for your fighters, my personal opinion, you're not a professional company. I don't care if you have professional fights. If you're not hiring at least one cutman, and I'm not saying it has to be me, but they can certainly contact me, and wherever they are, I can give them some names of some good quality guys. But it just so often you just see guys that don't, but they'll have 5 ring card girls, and that's just at this day and age you should be giving that to your fighters for sure. So that's one thing I would like to see in the future, and it is improving a lot. More and more guys are, but there's still some out there that aren't. So that's one thing I'd really like to see change this year, is that every promotion has at least one cutman on hand.
I definitely love having Rod around. I think it's great for the local scene of MMA. I think it really helps step our game up. It's been a blessing to have him around, right? Because it kind of makes us look a little bit more legit, you know, in the BC scene, right? Because you know we got a lot of good fighters out here, so there's a lot of good fights, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of times where he's going to have to jump in there and save somebody out, right?
So many of the fights have been stopped early just because the corners weren't qualified and didn't know what to do with the problems that occurred in between rounds, like the cuts are too deep or the lacerations are too large, and they didn't know what to do. Having a professional cutman who understands these problems will give the fighter a longer longevity in the sport, and will give them a better chance of not having to stop the fight stopped early.
I'm happy they're out there. I'm happy they're taking care of us, and without them, a lot of fights get stopped short, so I'm thankful for all of them.
Just being a great guy, you know, and I would feel confident having him wrap my hands or work my corner at any time. It just seems like a genuine guy who has this, it's pretty clear he's got a great passion for the sport.